Welcome to Time Tavern. Today we're dusting off some tomes from the law library and digging out the most absurd old laws that are technically still in effect. Dusty relics from the days of chainmail, chastity belts and chamber pots. Think you know weird history? Stick around. From swan-based treason to ghost impersonation bans, these ancient laws will make you glad you weren't born a few centuries earlier, especially if you've ever handled a salmon suspiciously. Grab your tankard and your gavel, it's about to get historically stupid. Legal archery against Scotsmen in York. Let's begin in the charming medieval city of York, England, birthplace of infamous lawbreaker Guy Fawkes, who has nothing to do with this video. In York today, let it be known, it is still technically legal to shoot a Scotsman with a bow and arrow, but only on Sundays and only from within the city walls. This law, thought to date back to the 13th or 14th century, was originally enacted as part of local defence regulations when tensions between England and Scotland were higher than Ben Nevis. These days, boring laws restricting things like murder make Scot killing a very bad idea, but the statute was never officially rescinded, so it's still hanging about like a Roman legionnaire's ghost in a pub cellar. Mandatory Sunday archery. Now, if you were a medieval Englishman over the age of 14, congratulations, the government wanted you armed and dangerous every Sunday. In 1363, King Edward III passed a law making it mandatory for all able-bodied men to practice archery on Sundays. This wasn't a leisure activity, it was considered a national defence obligation. In fact, playing football instead of practicing archery was also outlawed. Priorities, right? The law was reaffirmed for centuries and technically never repealed. So if your longbow is collecting dust, you might be breaking the law and disappointing Edward III. Don't wear armour in Parliament. Back in 1313, King Edward III passed another law, because the man loved laws, that banned wearing armour or carrying weapons inside the Houses of Parliament. This came after some noble lords got a little too extra and showed up in full chainmail to settle debates, which was considered bad form. To this day, if you strut into Westminster wearing a helmet and a breastplate, you're technically breaking the law. Though these days it would no doubt swing a few voters in the direction of any parliamentarian willing to test the law, and it would be fun seeing British bobbies manhandling a metal-clad Wes Streeting out of the place. It's illegal to pretend to be a ghost. Moving on to something spiritually ridiculous. In Britain, if you're ever deciding to don a white sheet with eyes cut out for a Halloween costume, you should know it's been illegal to pretend to be a ghost in public since the early 19th century, thanks to the Vagrancy Act of 1824. This law was meant to crack down on vagrants, beggars and other undesirables. Wandering around graveyards pretending to be the undead was apparently a thing back then. But even before 1824, similar laws existed as far back as the 1600s to stop spiritual imposters.
Even if you ain't a Christian like me, you gotta acknowledge the divinity that's granted you consciousness.
So yes, pretending to be a ghost has been legally frowned upon for centuries. Don't handle a salmon suspiciously. In the UK, handling salmon in a suspicious manner is illegal under the Salmon Act of 1986. But this bizarre bit of legislation actually echoes fish-related laws dating all the way back to the 13th century. At one point, sturgeon and salmon were considered royal fish, meaning they legally belonged to the crown. So if you tried to smuggle one out of a river under your cloak, you'd best be ready for royal wrath. The 1986 version just updated the language. Suspicious salmon handling. Ancient crime, modern problem. Killing a swan is treason, sort of. Speaking of royal animals, if you've ever thought about punching a swan, and we all have, let's be honest, don't. Because since the 1100s, all unmarked swans in England have technically belonged to the monarch, and killing one could be considered an act of treason. Back then, royal ownership of swans was a symbol of power. Killing a swan wasn't just dinner, it was defiance. While you probably won't be executed today, you will be in legal trouble. Punching other birds in the face is fine though. It's illegal to carry an ice cream cone in your back pocket. This one stems from anti-horse theft measures in the 19th century. In Alabama, it's illegal to carry an ice cream cone in your back pocket on Sundays. Why? Because in the 19th century, horse thieves would lure horses away by putting ice cream in their pockets. Which probably raises a whole host of other why questions, but I didn't make the rules and have never put an ice cream in my back pocket, or my front pocket either. I would advise anyone wanting to put an ice cream in their back pocket in Alabama or anywhere else to make sure they don't sit down. You'll ruin your Levi's. Women in France couldn't wear trousers. In the early 19th century, France passed a decree requiring women to obtain police permission before wearing trousers, unless they were on a horse or a bicycle, and even then it had to be very specific trousers. This stemmed from Napoleonic ideals about gender roles, and despite being completely unenforced in modern times, the law wasn't officially repealed until 2013. So for over 200 years, fashion-forward French women were technically criminals. It was pantalunacy. Sorry. Drunk cow herding is a crime. In 1872, back when gas lamps and workhouses were all the rage, Britain passed a law stating it was illegal to be drunk while in charge of a cow, a horse, or a steam engine. Yes, if you stagger home from the pub while leading Daisy the dairy cow, you could technically still be charged. The law has never been repealed. Presumably, it was all right for the cow to be shit-faced. Rabbits are dangerous, especially if you're a hairdresser. And finally, in colonial Queensland, Australia, rabbits were such a problem that the Rabbit Nuisance Act of 1878 banned their ownership, especially among hairdressers, bakers, and other tradesfolk. These laws were inspired by earlier 19th century British pest control rules, and to this day, certain regions still require permits for rabbit ownership. Why single out hairdressers? No one knows. Maybe they feared a stylish rabbit uprising. So there you have it, 10 ancient laws that prove history is as stupid, if not stupider, than now. Some of these laws may be forgotten relics, others are just bizarre enough to survive, but they all raise the same question. What the hell were we thinking? If you liked this trip through legal lunacy, smash that like button, subscribe for more strange history, and drop your favourite ridiculous law in the comments. Until next time, stay curious, stay weird, and please don't punch any swans or other birds in the face.